Conversations on Awaz-e-Haqiqat, which stands for the Voice of Truth. I'm your host, Chris Malika Bhatra, and depending on whichever part of the world you're listening to me from, we are that part of the year, we are talking about Women's Day, women's liberation, women empowerment. So this episode is kind of dedicated to violence, domestic violence, intimate partner violence, and all sorts of things that come along with it. Right at the start, I would like to mention that having this conversation, in no way are we saying that men do not face violence, but if you can see the numbers from any part of the world, the statistical data tells us that the violence that women are being faced through or women are being made to go through is way higher than what men have to face. We are allies for both, and I really feel these are separate conversations, not one on top of each other. On that note, very, very excited to be talking to my guest, Druma. Druma is a professional social worker with a master's degree, and she has worked in many countries, including India, UK, and Melbourne, in various sectors of social work. She has worked in the slums of Delhi and in rural Rajasthan in India as well. Her work was with women and children, supporting them toward their financial, educational, and social empowerment. In the UK, she worked in education, settings supporting children with special needs. Since living in Melbourne, Druma has also worked extensively for the past decade or so to support people seeking asylum and supporting people and children experiencing family violence. On that note, Druma, thank you so much for joining in. How are you doing tonight?
I'm very well, thank you, Chris, and thank you for inviting me to be your speaker tonight. Quite excited about it and happy to be a part of this conversation.
Thanks, Roma. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you for joining me. All right. First things first, Roma, as you said that we are kind of having the conversation on domestic violence. Trigger warning for the listeners. If you feel that this is heavier for you, please feel free to step out, take care of your mental health, and join back in or tune back in when you feel ready to be able to hear this conversation. Roma, the first thing that I wanted to ask from you is, how do we identify domestic violence in an Australian setting?
Okay, what I would firstly say is domestic violence is global. It is prevalent everywhere, regardless of which country you are living in, which ethnicity you belong to. It does not see your, I mean, of course, yes, gender is a big factor there.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it does not see color, caste, or anything, or even your education status or your financial status.
Right.
It happens, it can happen to anyone, anytime, anywhere. So the way domestic violence is talked about or reported is very different from country to country.
Right.
And the way people respond to it is also very different from place to place. So that is the difference, but it can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
And in the Australian setting, there is, I personally feel that there is a lot of growing awareness about gendered violence. So that is violence mainly against women in all sorts of settings. So whether be it workplace, it can be community, it can be just out and about in the city or shopping centers as well sometimes. I mean, recently we had a couple of women targeted, belonging to a particular religion. So it can happen anywhere. So that's not domestic violence. That's more like community violence, but it's gendered violence.
Yes.
And it also happens in behind closed doors in the homes of families here in Australia. Again, regardless of what color you are or what ethnicity you are, it can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
So it's no different, and there is a lot of awareness. There are a lot of supports available in the Australian setting, and therefore I feel people who are experiencing it have the courage sometimes to report it because they know there are supports available. So that I would say is Australian setting, but other countries may not have that, and therefore people don't speak about it, or it's taboo, or
Absolutely. I think it's a heavily taboo topic, Roma. We are talking about it gradually, but as you mentioned, a lot of things happen behind closed doors to which we are not privy aware yet. You raised an important point against gendered violence mostly against women is always what we address about, right? But of late, we've been seeing that even men are falling victim, and in a very tragic and an unfortunate way. So, Druma, in your experience, does domestic violence look any different when the victim is a male as compared to when the victim is a female?
Um, what I would say is, of course, it is all about power imbalance.
Yeah.
There is a lot of power and control when there is violence.
Hmm.
Yes, of course, 1 in 5 women have experienced it in some form or the other. So therefore, the number is much greater for women experiencing it from a male member than a male. But yes, males do experience domestic violence as well from their partners. It could be in the form of psychological, verbal
Right.
abuse, emotional abuse, more so than physical abuse,
Right.
because we know that women are a weaker sex physically. I mean, not always, yes, but again, it's you don't want to be put into a box.
Yeah. Yeah.
But overall, yeah, so there is higher chances of women becoming targets of physical violence, along with all the other violences,
Yeah.
which is psychological, emotional, financial,
Hmm.
verbal, even sometimes spiritual and religious as well.
Right.
So apart from, I think, the physical, there could be violence towards men in all other forms as well from a female partner.
Right.
And also, I've seen that males who identify as LGBTIQ plus in that community, they face more, they're more vulnerable, and they face violence from other men or families as well, who do not accept them as they are. So we see a lot of cases coming through in the sector from that community as well.
Yeah. That's very unfortunate.
Mm.
This was more about the separate gender conversation that we were having, and probably we'll come back to that, Duma. But I was very interested while I was doing the research that often says that when you have children in the dynamic, and if a household is witnessing violence and fights and whatnot, it leaves an impact on the child, right? So how exactly does the child get impacted when they often see parents abusing and hitting and all of that going on? What happens to the children?
Yeah, so yes, children should be at the forefront of this as well, because they are human beings in their own right.
Right.
They need the respect and love as well, like any other human being. So when they're exposed to their parents fighting, or even any other family relationship which has constant, abuse going on, it could be verbal, yelling, screaming, it could be emotional as well. It could be physical. So when they get exposed to it, that is what they understand to be life as. And, they get impacted. They get scared of the person abusing as well. I mean, anyone would, if you hear a lot of yelling all the time, you would be fearful of that person, and you would try to do things which will not make them yell. So you sort of confirm, or you give in instead of raising your voice. That's what they learn. And that causes a lot of trauma. And then as they grow up, they get exposed to school, their peers, their knowledge increases, and they understand that, well, not all families see or hear what I'm seeing or hearing. So why is it different? What is happening in my family? So that leads to further trauma on their minds, that, oh, why am I being slapped? Or, why my mother is being hit all the time? Or why is she emotional and crying? I need love and support, but no one is looking after me. My parents are always arguing, but I'm also here. What about me? So of course they don't ask these questions, but this is all happening in the background, and it causes a lot of trauma to their health, their mental health. It can also impact their physical health, their growth. Yeah, so sometimes what happens is then parents are not able to take care of them as they would like to, because they themselves are not in a position to look after themselves. So it's like wearing that mask on the airplane, the oxygen mask, that, first you put it on yourself and then you support the others. So if you are not taking care of yourself, and you are yourself in a trauma as as partners, you're fighting and you're not well, healthy, then that sort of passes on to the child. You can't take care of the child. the child then suffers as well.
Right.
So there is a lot of trauma there and a lot of impact on children. Also, when people separate because of family violence, there is then added trauma there.
Yeah.
You know, in Australia, we have family laws and things that people go through when they separate. And there are, what do you call it? Sometimes the court requests them that they have shared custody of the
Yeah.
child and
Yeah.
shared.
Druma, can you hear me?
They've learned. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of impact on child well-being as such.
Right. Thank you for that, Ruma. And the next thing that I wanted to ask you is, as a bystander, right? If you're the neighbor, if you're the extended family member, and if you're witnessing domestic violence, how do you make a report of family violence somewhere in your family, neighborhood, or anywhere if you see it?
Yeah, so it is very common here in Australia. People report to the police if they feel that there is something going on in your neighborhood. There is a lot of noises coming, there's screaming, shouting, and you feel somebody is unsafe, or there might be, I mean, you may directly witness it or you might indirectly hear voices. So yes, people do call the police just to make sure that everything is safe. So that is what happens. The police attend an incident. They talk to the parties who are involved in that conflict or, physical altercation or whatever it may be. And then they take action based on what they have witnessed or attended the incident to. Yeah.
That's good to know, because often as bystanders, people are not aware of what they can do if they are in any harm, and if they can, just take a step forward to help somebody who's being on the receiving end. So that's good to know what we can do. And Ruma, you've been in this line for so long. In your vision, what is an ideal system that can provide culturally safe, appropriate, and accessible service responses to families from every community?
Yes, yeah. So we have a lot of migrants in Australia. They're just on the increase as well. And we see a lot of families coming through asking for support for especially women for experiencing family violence. And what happens is there are a lot of intersectionalities that affect them. So one, they may have language difficulties. So English is not their first language. They're not maybe fluent in English, have a second language. So it's difficult for them to articulate their experiences or really express what they are looking for or what's happening to them. That could be a barrier for them to access services as well. Also, there might be visa issues. They may be on temporary visa, work visa, student visa, or they might be on a spouse visa. So they're very fearful to report or to raise their voice because they feel that their visa will be taken away. Sometimes the partner threatens them using their visa. That, if you say something or if you don't listen to me, I'll withdraw your visa application, because maybe they have the control over it. And sometimes it's done on purpose as well by some people. So I have come across cases where a person deliberately does that. Yeah. So they might say, okay.
Why would they do that on purpose, Ruma?
It's just about power and control, as simple as that. And especially what happens with migrants, when a couple, I mean, there are different scenarios every time. So the person using violence may be living here for many years, maybe a citizen here, but goes back home, whatever country they are from, to get married and comes with a new wife. Now, the wife comes with lots of aspirations and dreams. Oh, I'm going to be living in Melbourne, well-developed country. I can work, I can do this, I can do that. I might study. and thinks about her freedom. But the person who's married her and gets her here is not thinking the same. He's thinking, oh, I need somebody to look after me. I need somebody to just care for me. I'll be doing all the work, but I need someone just to, it's called domestic servitude, sort of an attitude.
Okay.
Yeah. So they may not allow this person to flourish and move on or study or, be empowered and become independent, because they feel if they become independent in a country where there are lots of opportunities, where women can stand for themselves, have the opportunities to do so, she may leave and go away, or I may not have any control. And sometimes, again, as you were talking about male victim survivors, what happens is males can they can have a lot of pressure as well. I'm not saying that I agree that they should do that. No way. Nobody should be using violence of any kind towards anyone. That's not an excuse at all. It's no to violence completely, but we have to be mindful about the, again, intersectionalities that men also face. So when they migrate, they may not find a job that they aspire to be in, right? They may find it hard to be financially stable. Or they may have very good qualifications, but it's always not easy to find the job that you would like to. And you end up doing jobs that you're not interested in, but you just do it to be in the country or to progress in future. And then there might be pressures of sending money back home to your parents because you have had to taken a loan to come out to the country in the first place. So you have to repay that. The parents may have helped, so you have to repay to the parents. So all those things happen. And then also there is a thing about having a face in the community, because you do represent your community. So there's that shame. Oh, if somebody finds out I do this, how will it look for me? Will I lose my job? Or what will be my position, my stance in the community, my status quo? So all those things play up as well. And they cannot, or they are struggling with a lot of, and there's racism as well. In every country. So they might be a victim of that. So all those frustrations, all those things, they sort of come out on their partner in some ways. So that shouldn't happen, but it does. And women, again, because from where they may have come, they may not have been, they don't know their rights, that they may have rights in this country to speak up or what supports they can get. So they keep quiet. For example, in India, if you go to the, people hesitate to go to the police in the first place, especially for your internal domestic matters. Police will say, oh, it's your internal matter, go away, sort it out. So they have that same impression, but here it's quite different. There are special units in the police force called family violence investigation units who look into these matters. And then there are referral pathways which police use as well. They refer to specialist family violence services, that we have had this case, we have attended this incident, now we are passing on this referral to you, please support this family, both the victim survivor and the person using violence. There are programs for them. So women can get supports like, maybe if they need to leave immediately because they're not safe, they may be killed if they don't. So then there are supports available for them to be in some, safe houses and things like that. For men also, there are supports like if they realize that what they were doing is not right and they would want to change their behavior, then there are supports for that too. So going back to what is culturally safe and appropriate, yes, there are supports available, and there are organizations, not many though, there are a couple of them which do provide people experiencing family violence with that cultural support. So they have workers who identify with their same ethnicity, and they may speak the same language, and they may understand, their background and traditions and things and what it is in Australia. And they also know about the supports available here. So they sort of matched the two, and supports are available in that sense. So women should not hesitate if they're feeling very, very fearful, at least reach out to these services and ask as to what supports are there for them. And these are not compulsory or mandatory. They are voluntary support services. So it's up to the woman to then decide whether she wants that support or not, because she's the judge of her own safety. She knows best what
Absolutely.
she can do.
Yes.
And if she has all the options, or even a male person, if they have all the options as to what is available, then they can decide that, yes, I would like to get this support
Yes.
because I'm feeling unsafe.
Mm.
Or should I go to the police or not? Even these things can be asked.
Yes.
Should I apply for an intervention order against my partner? What does intervention order mean? So all that can be explored through these services. Questions can be answered, and then you make an informed decision.
Yeah. Thanks, Ruma. That was very informative. And I think for people, as you said, who are not aware, who are new migrants, who are dependent on their spouses because of language, I think that comes across as very informative because often we don't know about our rights. But
Yes.
again, yes, go on, Ruma, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say another point about visa, that there should be no fear that, because I'm on temporary visa, I will not get support. There is support available regardless of what visa you're. Yes, it might be a little limited than if you were a citizen. I won't deny that, but there is support available. And there are legal services as well, which may guide you that, okay, well, if you are on this visa and you report this, what it might look like for you. Do you have any alternate pathways to apply for another visa? It may not be, it may be. I mean, I'm not here to say yes for sure, because every case is very different.
Yeah.
Every visa situation is very different, but it's good to get out there and ask for that help. Talk to a legal service. There are legal services which are free, like, Victoria Legal Aid and Fitzroy. There are so many of them in every area, every suburb. There might be a community legal center. So just go to them and ask them, what are my rights? What does it look like if I report this for my visa conditions?
Right.
Yeah.
On that note, that we spoke about that, there's growing awareness, but we are also aware that these numbers somehow are increasing, right? And then we're saying that there is community legal aid, there are people who can help you make an informed decision. But somehow there are certain gaps in the system, right? What are the gaps? And in your opinion, how can we better fill those gaps? How can the practitioners be more able to help to anyone and everyone who seeks help through the doors?
Yeah. So you look, with practitioners, I can understand that they may not be across all the cultures or the traditions or all of that. So that's where the gaps are. Right. So if a person from, say, a South Asian background comes to the door to a service and says, I'm going through this. And for example, somebody says that I'm facing family violence or domestic violence because of dowry issues. Now, the practitioner there may or may not know what that means. Right. So they may not be able to then understand what they mean by dowry and how serious issue it is in South Asian countries. And because of that, there can be extreme family violence leading up to death as well.
Yeah.
So they may not be aware of that extremity or that seriousness of it. So there are programs available where practitioners are upskilled on various cultural nuances, like, dowry is one. Then there is the patriarchal system, which exists more so in South Asian countries or other, Asian countries as well. And then the marriages is another one. So what is arranged marriage? What is forced marriage? What is love marriage? When does arranged marriage become forced marriage?
Right.
All arranged marriages are not forced marriages.
Yes.
There's a choice there as well. So to understand so it takes time. Practitioners are, in my experience, when I've worked with people who are professionals in this sector, they're very willing to learn so that they can provide the best support they can. But yes, I agree that there are gaps because this is all knowledge gaps. It's not that they do not want to support. So I would actually encourage for people who are seeking support also to be very open about having a discussion. I know when you're not in the state of mind when you approach for a service, I completely appreciate that. But also a dialogue can be had that, look,
Yeah.
if the person doesn't understand what dowry is, you can explain that dowry is something that is given in India at the time of marriage, and this is what is happening. And they may come back to you that, oh, well, okay, now I understand it better. So it's a two-way process.
Right.
But there is work happening in this area because we are seeing more and more migrants coming to Australia. We are seeing more and more family violence referrals come through, or situations that are happening, incidents that are happening. So again, I would say it takes time, but it is a work in progress.
That's good. That as long as it's work in progress in the better way, that we have reduced numbers
Yes.
and more awareness and literacy around domestic violence on both sides, on the professionals as well as persons seeking help. Druma, you know, all this is very heavy when you go through these cases, when you talk to people, right? So how do you take care of your mental health, Room?
Yeah, that's a good question. I like to walk a lot, so I make sure that I go for my walks and I'm listening to my music. I'm not thinking about anything else.
Right.
And then one thing I do is at the end of the day, after all my work, because I see so many people every day in my work, and I'm talking to them and I'm giving them their, pathways or information and all of that. I tell myself that I've tried to do my best. This is my capacity. Every one of us has our own capacity.
Right.
Right? I mean, yeah. So, of course, when it's urgent, we work as a team and we connect with other services, and you liaise and you communicate and you do all that. You put the best supports in place for that person to be safe. And then at the end of the day, I would say that, well, I've done my best that I can to support this person. I've provided them with all the information. I've made sure they're safe. And yes, that is what I would tell myself.
That is awesome.
And then I would participate in other things as any other normal person would,
Yes.
do your things that you like, do some exercise, do yoga, or listen to music, go to movies. Yeah, that's your me time.
Yeah, which is very important, very, very important.
Which is very important. Yes.
One last question, Ruma. What is your message to our listeners?
Yes, so I would say that, yes, please don't be a bystander. If you know anyone who is experiencing family violence, who has disclosed to you about any issues that they're facing,
right.
Please encourage them to go to a service and talk to them. Get as much information as possible that you can, and then make decisions afterwards.
Absolutely.
And go to a professional service, because not all of us know everything. Even I would say even the services are not aware of, as I said, everything. It's a learning in progress, and we learn of each other. So that is very important, to have that conversation, to discuss it, to support somebody. A person going through family violence may not be in a position to go out and talk to someone. So as a support person, as a friend, if it's a friend or a family member, you can say, okay, I'll come with you. Let's go do it together. Pick up the phone, call the service and talk to them and explain what's happening.
Right.
And take it from there.
Wonderful, wonderful, Ruma. Perks of being good humans, which we really need right now.
Yes.
Where can, if anyone wants to reach out or anyone wants to have a chat with you, where can we find you on social media?
That is a good question again. I think best is to go to your local service in your area, because all the supports, how it is designed here in Melbourne, I don't know about other states, is that there are support services very localized according to your LGA or councils. So a cluster of councils may be together. So if you go to your local service, and people can Google that as well. Family violence services in your area nearby, and it'll come up with a list of services. So best is to approach that service and then talk to them, because if they were to refer you to a legal service or for counseling or for relationship issues or relationship counseling, or even with family law matters, then it is all done within that local area. So I would encourage that rather than
Sure.
contacting me,
Yeah,
because I might do the same thing then. That, oh,
sure.
please go to your local service.
Absolutely.
Because that's how it works here. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Druma. This was very eye-opening and heartwarming and a very positive conversation that I got to have a chance with you with. So thank you for that. And for our listeners, if you heard us for the first time, a bit of a trigger warning again. This was a very heavily loaded conversation. We spoke about family violence, intimate partner violence, and even, someone losing their lives because of this. So if you feel that you are not comfortable hearing to this right now, please step away and come back to the conversation whenever you are ready. And
yeah.
Druma.
Thank you so much. I would like to add here is that 1-800-RESPECT is a number to call.
Right.
If anyone wants any sorts of support.
Absolutely.
So that's a common number, and that's the number to call if you have any immediate concerns or support, you need support. Yeah.
Thank you, Druma. I missed it out. And if you've heard us for a while, I really hope that you like the content that you hear. If you've got any thoughts or feedback, please write to me at Awaz-e-Haqiqat@gmail.com, or you can also find me on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. I look forward to reading your comments and thoughts on any of the conversations you might have heard. On that note, thank you so much, Druma, for having this positive conversation. I really hope that we get to a day where we don't have these cases in front of us anymore. Thank you so much for the work you're doing, and we wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.